They haven't played the game in more than 30 years, but some ex-big leaguers will be getting some cash from Major League Baseball. I'm Peter King. The agreement between baseball and its players' union covers pre-1980 players with less than 4 years in the majors.
For now, this is an agreement that calls for payments in 2011 and 2012.
Union Chief Michael Weiner says they'll likely talk about extending the payments up to $10,000 a year depending on a player's service time. MLB Labor Chief Rob Manfred.
What we have done is mirror the type of program that we previously put in place for former Negro League players and for players who played prior to 1947.
Douglas Gladstone wrote about the players in his book, A Bitter Cup of Coffee. He says he had hoped for more.
However, I'm elated that these men are finally going to, at long last, be rewarded for their service and contributions to the national pastime.
Former pitcher Steve Grilly is happier, but
to say that it was exactly what we were looking for, I think it's fallen a little short.
For example, he says a spouse doesn't get those payments when a player dies. We first reported on this issue last fall, and when we spoke with MLB's Rob Manfred back then, he told us that to ask for additional payments for work done more than 30 years ago was, quote, an extraordinary ask. He says the agreement reached is extraordinary.
Major League Baseball is the only employer in North America who has gone back and reached out to 3 groups of people, 3 separate groups, who left their employment without any sort of payment right or pension benefit and went back and did something for each of these 3 groups.
Players Association head Michael Weiner says today's players do owe a debt to the pre-1980 players, many of whom helped build the union.
Absolutely. The current players understand that the success and prosperity both of the game and the success of the union's efforts are in large part because of what former players have done.
And you should keep in mind the Major League salary in 1979 was just a little over $100,000. Players who'll get this cash never came close to earning that kind of money. Steve Grilly says he maxed out at about $16,000 a year, having played 2 years in the big leagues. He and more than 850 other men will receive payments, but he's also thinking of those who didn't live long enough to collect.
While this was going on, people were passing on because this included players from back in 1949 to, like I said myself, up to 1980. And it's just a gap that's kind of been the black hole of what's taken place with funding pensions and paying into the pension fund and not having anything to show for it.
Both MLB's Rob Manfred and Union Chief Michael Weiner give credit to the Major League Baseball Players Alumni Association and former player Dr. Bobby Brown for lobbying hard at getting this done. They both say Commissioner Bud Selig wanted to do the right thing. Again, author Douglas Gladstone.
The late Commissioner Giamatti once said that on matters of decency, baseball should lead the way, and I think MLB is taking an important first step.
Peter King, CBS News.